Inch tee shot.
Yep. Took a swing. That's what happened.
지금은 최호성 선수가
There's a lot of confusion ensues.
샷을 한 거죠. 의도가 있었는데 스윙하시려고 하다.
No one really looks like they know what to do. This was so polarizing.
지금 이제
That's it. That's how far it went.
We got to see how he got there, though.
Here we go. It's about a foot and a half behind it.
And never actually contacts the golf ball.
I'm not real sure. I think it's dirt.
I think blades of grass hit it.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
Professional golf, man. I have not seen that before.
Golf is hard. I mean, if those guys can do it, anyone can do it, right?
Well, and there's Ho Sung has a very interesting swing. He gets a lot of, I guess, commentary about his follow through, but the backswing with how much he shifts his weight and his pressure to the right and how long he keeps it that way, which he's claimed that he does that because he's a short hitter and all these other guys are hitting it far, so that's what he needs to do to play well. That isn't the answer. He's a really good golfer. It's not because of that, though. That's like the rust on the bridge. It isn't the thing that really defines his game. But you walk up and down the range of Topgolf, you're going to find people doing that and all the rest of Brandel Chambly's moves of greatness, and you see a bunch of bad swings. But that might be for another day. I did see a little meme here, or a little story about Bryson DeChambeau. You know he played good this week.
He played phenomenal this week. Right. I saw it. Yeah, brought home the victory. I think you called it on last week's show. I think you predicted that Bryson's got to win at some point in one of these tournaments.
We'll see. Someone should fact check that. Did you see what he eats though?
He did.
That's what we're doing here.
I'm attempting to recreate some of it. So I've got 6 eggs. I think I've got 7 pieces of bacon.
5 he does.
He does 5.
You're eating too much.
I need to catch up though, so I'm gonna try to catch up to him. I've got some protein shakes.
He has 7 of those a day.
That's amazing.
Now, I'm curious on what he's actually putting in those, and if they're just the single dose. Are you gonna eat that right now? Your average protein shake is maybe 130 calories. So if he's like legitimately having 1 scoop and a bunch of water, you did eat that. Yeah.
All right, we're getting there.
That was from like 4 days ago. I'm sure you'll be fine. And he's probably at like maybe close to 1,000 calories in protein shakes, and probably 1,000, if not a couple thousand in food. He needs to eat more real food. It looks like that's not a lot of real food. But man, I mean, you can't argue what he's doing here. He's eating a ton. He's working out really hard. Great recipe. I don't think he'll probably do this for his whole life. That might not be the best diet to really have. That's a lot of protein shakes, but for a short time, applaud that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing it. I think we're seeing it in his game, right? Obviously, everyone has seen how he's really jacked up his physique. But then this week to win and average over 350 yards per tee shot.
Yeah, longest average drive to ever win a tournament.
Yes,
on the PGA
to ever
Tour,
win.
351. Proximity to the hole was an interesting stat this week too. So if I can take something away that I thought was interesting, is that he finished 70th out of 70 people in proximity to the hole. Do you know why that might be? As an Air Force jet flies over. We get that a lot, unfortunately. It's been a noisy day. 70 out of 70 because a shot counts as an attempt at the green if you're within 30 yards of it.
Well, there you go.
He's hitting 4 or 5 drivers that are almost getting
within
on the green
30,
and really skewing that stat. So that's pretty interesting. You did mention whether or not we thought he might win. Probably should take a look.
DJ's way to hit a fade. He's to hit it long. He's just remembered to hit it long. Yeah, it's kind of remembering just to swing hard. He's got it.
So I don't know. We'll see how well he keeps putting. That's been maybe the hardest part for him. And he's never been like the best around the green. So 30, 40 yards away, or even just little pitches. Hasn't been his best. He's still awesome. He's awesome at everything. But I wouldn't be shocked if he wins in the next couple weeks.
Weird.
So I got a question for you. Had you not said that last week, would he have won this week?
Well, obviously he wouldn't have. But I first wanted to note you look amazing in that video, Dave. I want to start with that. No, we talked about his putting. So he finished #1 in strokes gained putting this week. First time he's done that in a little while.
Led
driving.
Led in strokes gained off the tee, led in strokes gained putting.
And obviously the worst iron player of the week.
The worst iron player of the week. We covered why.
No, he nailed that thing. Matt Wolff was an interesting one. He had a 3-shot lead to tee off and a 1-shot lead standing on the second tee.
Right.
And then he was behind by the 5th tee. So he played awesome too. I do think Matt Wolff's swing gets a lot of credit. which is good. He's awesome. Check out this driving distance, 341. I don't know if he finished second or not, but for the day, that was 341. For the week, 326. He hit a bunch of fairways. His strokes gained tee to green is a little bit worse than the PGA Tour average. I don't think anyone really talks about that because you see how unique his swing is.
Right.
He hits it really far. He isn't the best hitter on the PGA Tour. He's really good, though. This week he played awesome. And then he was leading in strokes gained putting starting the round, and then didn't putt really well this day either. So hit it really good, hit it really far, didn't hit as many greens as he should have through the front 9, and that's just because golf's hard, not because he's a bad player. He's awesome. But just couldn't put it all together, so I would expect nothing but great things coming from him.
And when you're up against a 65 in the final round, on someone that's right on your heels, right? There's not a lot you can do about that.
The round of the day. So here's another one. Check out this drive on 18 that Bryson hit. And I do want to get something off of the PGA Tour. I saw somebody post this on Twitter because I did happen to watch this shot. He bombs this drive, ball speed 191, backspin rate keeping it under 2,000. That's the most impressive thing I think out of him. And then he's driving this one 367. He's got 98 yards into almost a 500-yard hole.
It's amazing.
455, just blasting that thing out there. He was the longest by 10 or 15 yards, and they just showed on the coverage all the different bubbles leading up to the hole. So they did a little flyby from the rain or from the tee all the way up to the green, and you saw where all these shots were. And then Bryson's like 20 yards past him, sitting in the middle of the fairway. A whole ton of adrenaline, but I mean, here's the shot that he just ripped off of 18, just feeling good and strong, and smashed this like he does every other one. That high push draw, 132 apex. So I mean, he's hitting this thing 40 yards into the air and just clearing all these bunkers. They were looking for it in the lateral hazard there.
Well, just like that one, I was noticing that on a lot of his drives, where the cameraman sets up a lot of times about where everyone's going to land and end up, and they're constantly panning down the fairway for his shots.
No idea where to look. So no, that was super interesting, and it was fun. I watched maybe a few of the holes. I didn't watch very much like usual, but it's making me want to watch this more because I definitely see Bryson as a guy who's just playing awesome golf and hitting some great shots. Here's a little description of the swing that I grabbed from social media today from Nick Faldo. So no hinge of the wrists is an interesting
I was going to bring that up. I saw that. People were talking about no hinge swing.
Yeah. So you start at address and you've got an angle between your lead arm and the shaft. Like I'll draw a line on here. That generally changes in the backswing and you radially deviate. That just means that you start to bend your wrists like this. Cock your wrists. Those are all the words. You can use any one of them to work. In a lesson, I certainly don't say radially deviate, but that's really what it is. So talking to coaches, that's what we do. But he does very little of that. If anything, he might actually uncock his wrists or ulnar deviate his wrist on the backswing to some degree before doing it again. Now, the way he used to play golf, though, was that he barely had any radial deviation at all. Now what's started to change is that he's trying to make a longer backstroke. He's turning and extending his back even more than he used to, trying to raise his arms up higher. But when you watch the difference between this red line and the green one that's about to go in there, stop when his left humerus is close to parallel to the ground. You notice how much lower that is than the red line?
Tons
so this
lower.
Distance is really closed up. You can do that a host of different ways. The amount you bend forward, the amount you flex your knees, the amount you flex your ankles, or you just show a ton of radial deviation that lowers the shaft towards your shoulder. That is a piece that he didn't do as much last year. So there's more potential as you uncock your wrists or move your wrists from radial deviation towards ulnar on the downswing. When you hit, there's some element of speed in there. So he's gained a ton of that. Not to mention the way he's talking about his swing, which is that he's trying to make his backswing as fast as he can, which is a great piece of advice for people who want to hit it farther. First thing I do is start with, you want to hit it farther, turn more in the backswing, so you have some more potential to move the club farther. And then the next one is just go faster. Faster backswing. Because to start on the way down and pull the club down faster on the way down, you have to apply a ton of force at the top of your swing that way, that you don't necessarily have to do when you move really slow. So go faster. When you see that red and green gap continue to just stay massively apart, that's really noticeable for Nick Faldo here. He talks about the no wrist hinge swing and that people should try it. That isn't the piece that really works the best for him or is causing him to play great golf, but it is noticeable, and these green lines are articulated in that. what I think is really cool here is how he hits. He bends himself backwards a ton. And then you might notice right about in here where his left leg is very straight, his right arm couldn't be straighter. And then the shaft is really in line with his right arm anyway.
Right.
So he hasn't recocked the club. He's not trying to take his wrist from extended like that and flex it really fast through the ball. I mean, he is, but it's not showing up as though he went all the way into a totally flexed wrist. And those are really that's the icing on the cake there. But that isn't something that you're going to hear Nick Faldo talk about.
Yeah.
Or any of the talking heads, quite honestly, that are
That
on TV.
and 7 pieces of bacon and what was it, 6
Couple
protein
that all
shakes and a
together,
bunch
man.
of eggs, and you're going to average 350 and win a tournament, I guess.
So that was pretty good. Now I will say that I do once in a while try to help people, golfers in particular, who aren't getting or maybe are naive to some of the things that happen in golf, especially when you watch TV.
Right.
Your mom always said TV rots your brain. It's true, well, especially when you watch golf. It's interesting because the people that you're really entrusting to tell you reality don't always know reality. Brandel Chamblee comes up all the time. Never taught golf. Has no idea what he's doing.
Right.
Watches some YouTube videos and suddenly he's an expert on golf and his job is to commentate on TV. That doesn't make you an expert. That doesn't mean you know anything. You can be, I hear the same thing about, I've heard PGA Tour players tell me that they liked a teacher because they thought he was really smart. I said, well, that's really interesting as well, but does being smart mean you know what you're doing?
Right.
They're not the same things. None of that's synonymous. Our friends at Golf Channel, and I love all these guys, but it's still worth the average person who might be watching this trying to get better at golf to understand that you're not always listening to the most interesting conversation and stuff that's worth noting. Don't just take this for face value that what you hear is accurate. So let's watch our Trip Eisenhower here is talking about Rickie Fowler and the state of his game.
Hit us
Here we
with an
go.
example.
But you also look at, I just think maybe the grittiness, when things are tough, maybe just grinding out just a little bit better when things aren't quite going. I think that's subtle. It's subtle because if you look at his talent, he's got the second best putting stroke to Tiger in the game right now.
So when the tough get going, the going get tough.
That's how that goes.
That's
man.
what I heard.
Surprised you didn't know that. Let's do some fact checking. Second best putting stroke on the PGA Tour. So checking out his strokes gained putting, which by the way, he played awesome this week.
Yeah.
He needed a back nine 32, I think, on Friday to make the cut, but he kept that streak going.
Right.
Here's where he is, tied for 64th in strokes gained putting this year. Second best putting stroke, only to Tiger, is not accurate.
Well, you win some, you lose some.
I mean, either that or he is the worst green reader in golf to the point where he's standing over a putt, the flag is that way, and he turns his back and putts the ball off the green. Those are like your only answers in there. So let's get back to our buddy here.
In the game right now, his short game's fantastic. The best bunker player on the PGA Tour. Yeah.
The best bunker player. So far he's highlighted, he's the second best putter.
Second best putter.
And the best bunker player.
Number
on
one in
tour.
bunkers.
This one was a fun one. Sand save percentage for the year.
Number one.
He is 175th.
Oh, that was close.
So those aren't necessarily the skills that are helping him play really nicely. If anything, that might be something that is weakness of his game.
Right.
But when and I understand after doing plenty of spots on the Golf Channel, I understand you've got a short amount of time, you have to say something that's important and go, but the fact checking isn't always there. And the same thing goes for Brandel. He is the king of telling everybody how careers have ended, but doesn't really know why.
Lots of fake news out there. I feel like that's what you're trying to tell
I think
me.
you've nailed it. Yeah, this hits home to me because I feel like the people who are naively watching golf on TV, looking to be entertained, but also understand the game a little better,
right?
Have no shot right now.
So what should they be doing?
They should be watching this show.
Okay.
They should be trying to understand the game.
Right.
Watch the videos we've put out on YouTube, which are basically just objective ways to view either your equipment or your golf game. We try to basically never talk about anything that is just my opinion ever, and that's the whole point of how to get better at golf. Understand how the game works that way. So we got all that stuff. We got the world's shortest drive. Matt Wolff is crushing it. I hope he continues to play well because he's so good for the game, as is Bryson. And the comment came up a question came around our office of producer Sabrina even asked, is everybody going to start doing Bryson's plan? Yes. And if you've been watching, we've been touting the whole time that you need a good swing and you need to be physically strong, man.
Yeah.
So safely strength.
For the
training
record,
is
I feel like you
our
need to
plan.
work out a bit if you're going to consume
Yeah.
this.
I mean, you're destined to, if you're not doing some hard two-a-days or like really getting into it, he hasn't just put on lean muscle.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do this and sit on your couch or be your average guy, it's not going to work. He's got that sort of drive, but so do a ton of other players. So
Right.
don't be shocked when you see maybe even midway through this season, definitely the off season next year, some guys are taking notes.
See some guys starting to bulk up and beef up.
Oh yeah,
Some of
I'm
the
trying to hit it farther. And we all kind of laughed at him. It was, I think, the beginning of 2019. He said, "I'm just gonna, you guys wait and see. I'm gonna come out and work out really hard and drive the ball 400 yards." And I, in myself, was saying the same thing. If you're not driving it far enough to say 400, even still.
Yeah.
But he's not stretching the truth that much.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, when you're poking it out there 380 every now and then,
Yeah.
you're scratching at the surface.
And they're just so long because now he's hitting a 9-iron from 190 and has good command of that.
Right.
He's got a ton of confidence. It didn't look like down the stretch this week he was putting awesome.
Right.
He led in this day, but on 16, 17, 18, they looked a little more tentative. So
Yep.
he made those, and I think that'll give him a ton of confidence going forward. But he doesn't look like, I'm a little bit curious to know that if he was the guy who had to make a 15-footer on 18 to win or get in a playoff.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's that guy yet.
He did
We'll see.
He did have the birdie finish
Yeah.
to win by 3.
I'm not
I
even
mean,
saying he can't. I'm just also suggesting it looked a little shaky on 17. That was a par 5 that he hit into with
Right.
just a short iron and almost 3-putted that. He had a long enough putt for that second one. So I don't know. Dude's awesome. Golf's been fun to watch. Even the little bit I've watched.
Same as last week. I got to wait for my prediction until November, but I'm rooting for a Bryson Tiger final pairing on Sunday at Augusta. So
Yep.
we'll see if that comes true.
I am too, man. That's a good way to leave this because I want to keep that dream alive, man.
Amen.
All right. So tomorrow we're going to do some stuff.
Are we?
I don't even know what we're
some
doing.
stuff like last week.
I don't even know what
I
we're
heard it's going to involve a golf club.
Oh, yeah. Well, we could do that for tomorrow. We're going to hit some shots, whether that's tomorrow or Thursday, that you won't want to miss. We'll have a little bit of fun. Otherwise, we're going to do some drivers. And Dave's going to hit some drivers, and we're going to look at some the ways that you can have your clubs tweaked or changed a little bit, and it can make a pretty substantial difference to your game.
Am I going to hit some drives, eat some eggs and bacon, then hit another one? See the difference? Is that how that works?
Before, during, and after. I want to see you eat those while we're shooting this. In between drives. Grab an
Amen.
egg.
Let's try it. I'm up
Okay,
for anything.
so if you're up for that, Dave eating a ton of food and eating drivers, that'll be good. And then we're going to do an awesome little challenge of skill, Dave and I hitting some shots, playing a game that you'll want to play with a friend. That's coming up the rest of this week.
You got me by 1.2 points last week, so I want to get you by 1.3 points this week. That way I'm up for the series.
Deal. Let's have a protein shake. We'll see you tomorrow.
Cheers.